Is what makes you show up every single day, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. See, the problem isn't that people don't want greatness. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants freedom, success, confidence, strength, but very few are willing to pay the price. And that price is discipline, because discipline is sacrifice. Discipline is control. Discipline is walking away from distractions and walking straight into discomfort. But here's the truth. Every rep, every early morning, every skipped temptation, it's not just building habits, it's building you. It's building a version of you that doesn't fold under pressure, that doesn't need applause to keep moving, that doesn't rely on luck, because it's been forged in effort. You don't get power by wishing for it, you earn it by outworking, outlasting, and out-disciplining everyone around you. You want mental clarity, discipline gives you that. You want emotional control, discipline sharpens it. You want to stop being afraid of life, of failure, of rejection. Discipline gives you power over fear. The more disciplined you become, the less permission you need from the world. You stop needing the outside to validate the inside. Because when you're disciplined, you know who you are. You know what you're about. You don't need inspiration. You become it. You don't wait for opportunity. You create it. And the best part, discipline doesn't care where you come from. It doesn't care how much money you have, what your background is, or what odds are stacked against you. Discipline is the great equalizer. It puts the power back in your hands. That's why it's a shortcut, not because it's easy, but because it gets you where you want to go faster, more directly, more completely than anything else. When you're disciplined, you skip the detour. You don't chase distractions. You don't get seduced by shortcuts that lead nowhere. You go straight to the hard path, and that hard path becomes your edge. Most people avoid it, but you walk it, and over time, it makes you unstoppable. You want to build a life that others admire. You want to stand for something. You want to become someone who commands respect just by presence. Then forget motivation, forget talent, forget luck. Master discipline. It is the foundation of every empire, every legacy, every great name carved into history. It's what gets you up when you've been knocked down. It's what keeps you going when no one's clapping. It's what makes you dangerous in a world that worships comfort. So stop waiting, stop negotiating with your potential, stop treating your goals like suggestions. Make a decision today that no matter what, you will be disciplined, that no matter what, you will show up, that no matter what, you will never give your power away again. Because discipline is the shortcut to power, and power, true power, the kind that shapes destiny, belongs to the disciplined. Now go earn it. Discipline begins where comfort ends, and that's where the transformation truly begins. The first and most foundational key point is simple, yet brutally hard to accept. You must master yourself before you can master anything else. The enemy is not out there, it's within. It's not your circumstances, your background, or even your failures. It's your lack of control over your own mind, your emotions, and your daily actions. Self-mastery is the first commandment in the doctrine of power, and discipline is its only path. Every great leader, every champion, every individual who has left their mark on the world began with a single, defining decision to govern themselves when no one else would. This doesn't happen overnight. You don't wake up with mastery. You earn it, one choice at a time. Every time you say no to a distraction, you grow stronger. Every time you push through resistance, you gain leverage over your own life. Because the truth is, most people will never be powerful, not because they lack potential, but because they lack discipline. They are slaves to their impulses, victims of their emotions, and passengers in their own lives. Think about this for a moment. How many people do you know who are full of potential, but never take control of their lives? They say they want success, but they wake up late. They say they want change, but they keep doing the same things. They say they want to grow, but they surround themselves with people who drag them down. Why? Because discipline is painful. It demands sacrifice. It requires you to do things you don't feel like doing every single day. It demands consistency in a world built on instant gratification. It asks for the long game in a world obsessed with shortcuts. But here's the twist. The pain of discipline is always less than the pain of regret. The temporary discomfort of effort will never be as haunting as the permanent weight of what could have been, and when you truly embrace that, you begin to flip the script on your own life. You stop seeking permission, you stop waiting for motivation, you stop chasing easy, and instead you rise. You rise in the early hours, while others sleep. You rise when your body says quit. You rise when your emotions scream for escape, and in that rising day after day, you begin to evolve. Discipline is not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It's about building your mind like a fortress, strong, focused, impenetrable. It's about saying to yourself, I am not a slave to this world, I am a builder of my own. When you start choosing discipline, you begin to unlock a power that no one can take from you. No opinion can shake it, no setback can break it, no failure can define it, because you realize you are not driven by feelings, you are driven by your purpose, and your purpose doesn't take days off. This isn't about hustling mindlessly, it's not about burning out or proving something to others. It's about integrity with yourself, keeping promises to yourself, doing what must be done, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching, because the battle is always won in the shadows, long before the world sees the result. People talk about confidence like it's some magical trait, but real confidence, it's built brick by brick through discipline. It's not affirmations in the mirror, it's reps in the dark, it's the sweat, the repetition, the small daily victories no one claps for. That's where the real power lies. When you know you can count on yourself, your entire life changes. You walk differently, you speak differently, you lead differently, because you're no longer operating from a place of insecurity, you're grounded in earned confidence, and the currency of that confidence is discipline. You don't fake it, you prove it, not to the world, but to yourself. Every day that you show up, regardless of how you feel, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. You're telling your brain, this is who we are now. And slowly that identity begins to harden. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop feeding doubt. You start moving with clarity, with certainty, with quiet power. The beautiful irony is this: discipline, which most people think of as restriction, is actually liberation. It frees you from chaos, from indecision, from the tyranny of comfort. It gives you control over your time, your energy, your life. When you live with discipline, you start to realize how much noise you used to tolerate, how many distractions, how much wasted time, how much energy spent on things that didn't matter. You begin to simplify, you begin to focus, and that focus becomes a superpower. While others are scattered chasing the next shiny thing, you are building, brick by brick, you are creating something unshakable, a foundation so strong that setbacks don't destroy you, they refine you. Because you've built your life on something real, not hype, not luck, not outside approval, but the quiet, consistent, ruthless application of effort. And the more you do it, the more your world bends to your will. You stop reacting, you start directing, you stop waiting, you start executing. This is why discipline is the shortcut to power. Because it collapses the gap between who you are and who you could be. It turns potential into performance, dreams into results. It strips away the fluff and leaves only what matters: execution, consistency, and grit. No, it's not glamorous, it's not always fun, but it works. And when you commit to it fully, not halfway, not when it's convenient, but fully, you begin to unlock levels of power most people never touch, not because they're not capable, but because they're not willing. But you're here for more. You're not here to be average. You're not here to live on repeat. You're here to become a force, and that force is born in the furnace of discipline. So ask yourself right now, are you living at your potential, or are you living in comfort? Are you building yourself, or are you betraying yourself? Are you acting in alignment with the future you want, or are you negotiating with the present you fear? Because the truth is, the life you want is already within reach, but it's guarded by one thing: discipline. And if you're willing to embrace it, If you're willing to get uncomfortable, stay committed and show up relentlessly, you won't just change your results, you'll change your identity. You'll stop being someone who talks about power and become someone who embodies. And once you get a taste of that, you'll never go back, because discipline isn't the enemy, it's the gatekeeper, the protector of greatness, the key to your evolution, and the greatest gift you will ever give yourself. Discipline is not something you practice once and achieve forever. It's not a one-time decision, it's a commitment that must be renewed daily. Power doesn't belong to the people who are sometimes disciplined. It belongs to the people who are consistently disciplined, even when no one is watching. The second truth about discipline is that it creates structure, and structure is the backbone of power. Power doesn't arise from chaos, and success never comes to the disorganized. When you create a disciplined structure in your life, your routines, your habits, your mindset, you build a foundation that is unshakable. People look at those who are successful and wonder how they do it all. The answer isn't magic or talent. It's structure. It's waking up at the same time every day. It's having a plan. It's showing up whether they feel like it or not. That structure becomes a system that protects your time, channels your energy, and guides your decisions. Most people live in reaction. They're constantly pulled in every direction. But the disciplined live with intention. They don't chase everything. They move with focus. They don't waste time. They own it. And because of that structure, they move faster and more effectively than everyone else. When your life has structure, you no longer rely on motivation. You don't need to feel like doing something. You just do it because it's what you do. It becomes who you are. That identity of being disciplined, of being structured, becomes your power. While others wait to feel inspired, you are execute. While others spiral in indecision, you are progressing. That's the advantage that structure gives you. And the key is this: structure does not limit your freedom, it multiplies it. Because when you control your time, you control your life. When you have a plan, you avoid distraction. When your mind is organized, you make better decisions. Discipline gives you clarity, and clarity breeds confidence. Instead of second-guessing everything, you know what must be done. That alone makes you unstoppable. Most people get overwhelmed because they're always reacting. They're behind on deadlines, stuck in bad habits, bouncing between priorities. But when you live with structure, you cut through the noise. You protect your priorities. You move with calm, even in chaos. That kind of mental order is rare, and it gives you a distinct edge. Because when your internal world is in control, the external world can't shake you. Discipline is how you train your brain to operate under pressure, and pressure is where most people break. It's not that they're weak, it's that they've never practiced staying strong. Discipline is that daily practice, when you force yourself to stay on schedule, to do what you said you'd do, even when it's hard. You're training your mind to obey your values, not your emotions. That training is what makes you resilient. Because when life gets tough, and it always does, your structure doesn't fall apart. You don't crumble under the weight. You don't lose control. You adjust. You adapt. You endure. That is real power. That is what separates the elite from the average. People think they'll rise to the occasion, but the truth is, you fall to the level of your training. If you haven't trained your mind through daily discipline, you won't handle the stress of a high-stakes life. But if you've built that mental toughness through consistent effort, you will thrive under pressure. You will become the person who remains calm in crisis, who doesn't get shaken, who performs while others panic. That's not luck. That's the result of structure. That's the power of discipline. You build the muscle of execution, so strong that nothing external can break it. Let's be honest. Discipline and structure are not sexy. They're not glamorous. They're not flashy. But they work. They are the quiet systems that produce loud results. They are the invisible scaffolding, holding up extraordinary lives. People don't see the routine behind the success. They see the outcome, but not the hours of repetition. They see the confidence, but not the years of consistency. If you want to own your life, you need to own your system. You need to create a daily routine that supports your goals. You need to eliminate what weakens you, and double down on what makes you stronger. That's how structure becomes your ally. It's not just about getting things done. It's about becoming someone who cannot be stopped, someone who is so aligned, so focused, so intentional, that success becomes inevitable. You don't rise by chance. You rise because you are built to rise, built by discipline, built by structure, built by unwavering commitment to the path. When you lack discipline, your life gets ruled by external forces, your boss, your bills, your moods, your environment. But when you install structure, you become the one in control. You create order, you take command, you decide what matters. That power shifts everything. You start to walk with purpose. You start to attract opportunities. You start to lead, not follow, because power gravitates toward those who control their lives. People trust the disciplined. They rely on them. They follow them. Why? Because they're dependable. They're not flaky or inconsistent. They deliver every time. And that reliability becomes a superpower in a world full of excuses. If you want to be trusted, respected, and elevated, be disciplined. Show people that you are not swayed by laziness, not ruled by emotion, not dragged by chaos. Be the anchor, be the constant, and the world will begin to follow your lead. Structure also creates energy. That might sound strange, but it's true. When your life is chaotic, your mind is tired. Every decision, every missed deadline, every late night drains you. But when your life is structured, you conserve energy. You reduce decision fatigue. You stay aligned. You move with efficiency. And that efficiency gives you fuel. You're not constantly chasing or correcting. You're flowing. You know what to do. You know when to do it. And because of that, you have more to give, more focus, more intensity, more stamina. That's why the most disciplined people are often the most energetic. They've removed the noise, the waste, the clutter. Their lives are streamlined for power, and power flows through clarity. So if you're feeling scattered, anxious, overwhelmed, don't look for more motivation. Look at your structure, fix your systems, bring discipline into your daily rhythm, because once you do, you'll stop spinning your wheels and start gaining real traction. Let's not forget, structure doesn't just guide you when things are good, it protects you when life gets hard, because storms will come. You'll face setbacks, heartbreaks, failures, and in those moments, emotions will scream at you to quit. But structure will hold you up. Your routine becomes your rope. Your habits become your armor. Your discipline becomes your light in the darkness. You won't need to think. You won't need to decide. You'll just act, because you've trained yourself to move forward no matter what. That's why disciplined people don't just survive adversity, they grow through it. They use pain as fuel. They use pressure as a trigger to rise, because their structure doesn't crack under weight. It becomes stronger. So if you truly want power, build it through discipline. Power that is untouchable. Power that's not handed to you, but built by you. Power that isn't reliant on trends, followers, or luck. Because true power comes from within. It's forged in the small daily acts of discipline that no one sees. It's built in the silence, in the early mornings, in the cold hours, when you show up and put in the work. The world may never applaud that effort, but it will respect the result, and you'll know deep down that your success wasn't an accident. It was earned, crafted, built with intention, through structure, and with unbreakable discipline. And once you've built that internal kingdom, no one can take it away. That is power. That is your edge. That is your path. So walk it with discipline, and you will rise above the noise, above the average, above your former self, into the life you were truly meant to live. ChatGPT said, discipline is the catalyst that turns time into leverage, and leverage is the third key to power, because the disciplined person understands a secret that the undisciplined never grasp. Every minute you command compounds into hours, days, and eventually entire seasons of advantage that no amount of raw talent can ever recapture. The greatest gap in life is not between the weak and the strong, the rich and the poor, the lucky and the unlucky. It is between those who waste time and those who invest it. Discipline is how you cross that gap and never look back. Consider the compounding effect of one disciplined hour each dawn, claimed before the world's noise invades your mind.
Multiply that hour by weeks, months and years, and you hold thousands of concentrated hours. The average person squanders on comfort and distraction. Those hours become books read, skills mastered, muscles forged, businesses built, relationships deepened and ideas executed. They become proof that ordinary minutes, stacked with relentless consistency, transform into extraordinary results. Power accrues quietly, the same way interest accrues in a bank account, little by little, then suddenly all at once. That sudden surge the outside world calls overnight success is nothing more than the visible tip of an iceberg, whose massive base was built in private by disciplined repetition. When you live this way, procrastination is no longer a harmless habit. It is an assault on your future. You start to see every aimless scroll, every pointless argument, every unnecessary indulgence for what it truly is: theft. Theft of momentum, of mastery, of the life you could be living. And that awareness sharpens your focus even further, tightening the feedback loop between intention and action, until hesitation has nowhere to hide. Discipline also turns adversity into leverage, because time is not the only resource it multiplies. It multiplies meaning. When setbacks hit, the undisciplined fall apart. They have no structure to support them, no habits to keep them grounded, no purpose resilient enough to convert pain into fuel. But the disciplined have already rehearsed persistence in the micro battles of daily routine, so when a macro battle arrives, they treat it as another rep. Rejection becomes redirection, failure becomes data, fatigue becomes a signal to refine mechanics and upgrade recovery. They don't romanticize struggle, yet they refuse to waste it. They mine every hardship for lessons, then reinvest those lessons back into their system, compounding strength faster than the hardship can sap it. Over time, discipline forges anti-fragility. The more chaos you throw at someone who has trained their mind and calendar, the more creative, adaptive, and unstoppable they become. Discipline magnifies influence as well, because people instinctively follow those who are clearly the captains of their own ship. In meetings, on teams, inside families, the disciplined voice carries weight, not merely because it is loud, but because it is consistent. Others sense the invisible architecture behind your words, your track record of showing up, finishing reps, honoring commitments. Trust blooms where discipline lives, and trust is the currency that buys collaboration, loyalty, leadership. You do not need to beg for attention. Your execution commands it. You do not need to market integrity. Your habits announce it. Power shifts toward you, because in a world addicted to ease, reliability is rarer than genius. And the most remarkable part, this influence does not drain you. It expands you, because the same disciplined systems that produce external excellence also protect your internal equilibrium. Boundaries are clear, priorities are ranked, energy is cycled, so you give from overflow, not from depletion. Yet none of these advantages manifest unless you make one ruthless decision to become non-negotiable about your non-negotiables. You identify the critical few actions that drive the majority of your growth, then you calendar them so firmly that they survive moods, emergencies, and applause. Writing a daily page, training your body, studying your craft, reviewing goals, nurturing key relationships, whatever your pillars are, you engrave them into the bedrock of routine. The moment you treat these pillars as options, you give randomness the key to your kingdom. The disciplined understand that motivation is a visitor, but systems are a home. They design the home so elegantly that even on the worst day, they still land on a floor of minimum standards higher than most people's ceiling. Excellence therefore becomes a byproduct of environment, rather than an occasional emotional spike. To lock this in, you must also practice iterative refinement, review, adjust, upgrade. Discipline is not rigidity, it is dynamic alignment. You study data, sleep output, profit, joy, then fine-tune habits. The way a pilot trims angles mid-flight, small tweaks guard you from burnout and keep the flywheel spinning. You become both architect and engineer of your destiny, and each cycle of reflection injects more precision into execution, accelerating the compound effect exponentially. The payoff is a life that appears effortless from the outside, but is in fact engineered down to the millimeter on the inside. And so we arrive at the unvarnished conclusion: discipline is the shortest, straightest line between potential and power, because it weaponizes time, converts adversity into assets, and magnetizes influence, while crafting an inner citadel no external storm can breach. The shortcut is not a detour around difficulty, it is the discipline to walk straight through difficulty, with daily intention, trusting the math of compound effort, to deliver exponential return. Embrace that discipline today, stack its small wins tomorrow, and soon you will look back to find that the power you once chased is the power you now embody, and the world will be forced to measure its pace against yours.